Plains, that's where it'll be coolest. Still warm down to the south and the northeast. That looks pretty good. We'll see 60s and 70s. Football weather, it looks like. And you can break out the sweaters already. Once it dries out here, it'll warm up quickly. So we will see a few more summer-like days before Wednesday, which is our first day of fall. Alrighty, back to Saturday. The east is gradually starting to dry out while the rains and thunderstorms sort of redevelop right out along the Mississippi. A slow developing storm system that will start to lift northeastward, and by Monday it should be heading to the Great Lakes and moving on out, but a new system coming in behind it, and sure enough this one may bring in a little bit of snow.
A recent Gallup study says half of all American households need an air purifier. When you consider all the people who suffer from asthma, various allergies, and chronic sinus problems, it adds up to a lot of suffering. That's where ENVIRICARE can help. Its true HEPA filtration system cleans the air of 99.97% of all impurities, and it's certified as a Class 2 medical device. So if you're in the 50% with chronic breathing difficulties, try ENVIRICARE and see how the other half lives. A recent...
There aren't too many beach days left this season, and today probably is not one of them. If you're going to get out there, the winds will be around 15 to 25 miles per hour, basically an onshore wind, so a little blustery, but that's probably not the real problem. A lot of clouds, and that's really from the Cape all the way back to Chicago. Oktoberfest coming in this weekend, and it looks like it's going to be kind of cloudy for it, and cool too. Temperatures in the 60s. That's it today as well. Temperatures in the 60s. Water temperatures are that warm. This is the warmest time of year for the water, but temperatures are dropping back already. Down to the south, if you see a little sunshine out there, it'll probably warm up nicely, and you might be able to hit the beach, but watch for some thunderstorms. Water temperatures, of course, really hanging on. Looks like full sunshine today, mainly Louisiana and Texas and on up into Oklahoma. So Lake of the Ozarks should be in fine shape. Light winds expected, a light chop in the bay and inland waters through Florida. Riptide's a possibility, though, around Miami Beach. To the west coast, light winds expected. A lot of sunshine once you get to interior regions, but the marine layer was thick yesterday, and it's rather thick again today. We have an onshore wind, but very few advisories in the water, so pretty calm out there off the west coast.
Most any riding lawnmower can lead.
Are you hitting the roadways this afternoon? Well, a lot of folks will be Friday afternoon and the last weekend of summer, by the way, although most folks are already sort of in that fall regime. We do have some wet roadways in the east and perhaps some heavy downpours, much like we had yesterday, so that'll be pretty persistent, and a lot of that will sort of just tie on over into Saturday. So it'll be a little rough to get rid of all of the low clouds, even a little fog, and the wet weather. Then out here through the plains, it's looking a little bit worse than it was yesterday as the rains are starting to expand, and these ones may stick around through the weekend as well. So a couple of real trouble spots that'll be hard to get rid of. In the east, we have our one stationary front. It does look a little better Saturday, and Sunday definitely the best day in the northeast. But if you're driving this evening, definitely expect some heavy downpours and definitely some wet roads. Out through here, a couple of thunderstorms. As a matter of fact, they may be fairly strong. We've had some reports of small hail in Nebraska, but we're not expecting severe weather today, so that's probably the best news, and you have to be traveling through here. However, in the south, there were some delays at the airports yesterday. Might want to call ahead today as it's still kind of stormy out there. A little blustery through the plains and the southwest, possibly some blowing sand.
Here on the Weather Channel at 20 minutes after every hour, you get a comprehensive national report that covers the forecast over the next 5 days. Watch a 5-day business planner coming up soon on the Weather Channel. Now, your local forecast, accurate and dependable from the Weather Channel.
A couple of radars. First off, the national picture, which will show us basically two areas of rain, one along the east coast. It's a broken area of rain, so scattered showers and some bigger thunderstorms now developing down south, and then another frontal system coming across the plains, and so that's bringing us some light rain with a couple of thunderstorms. Actually, some small hail reported earlier in Nebraska. West Coast, though, looking fine, and as we move into the weekend, should be in pretty good shape. We had a kind of rough summer in the northwest, and finally now we're getting some sunny days with warm temperatures. Should be up in the 70s again today in Seattle, so looks good, although the low clouds are kind of hugging the coast down here, so maybe a little tough to break. And they actually had a very chilly morning. Bakersfield, just 51 degrees. That was a record low for the day. Taking off into the northeast, no rain right now in New York. Hartford has seen the rain come to an end. Question is, will we get a little bit more? It's a definite possibility. You can see there's more spreading up from the south, although through much of the afternoon you may be dry, just a little fog or drizzle around. Definitely the low clouds. A gray day through here and a cool one too. Temperatures in the 60s, and that's not likely to change as we head into Saturday. Should warm up a little bit on Sunday as we get some sun back here. In the meantime, we'll see more weather like this, so some patches of rain. Right now, D.C. to Baltimore, heading on up towards Philadelphia. Really no thunderstorms here, but if we head a little bit farther to the south, we'll see a few along the coast of North Carolina and scattered light showers around D.C. and a little bit back into West Virginia, Charleston, over towards Beckley and Bluefield. Maybe a couple of sprinkles on and off here. Nothing real big. Farther to the south, they're more likely to see the thunderstorms in Georgia and into Florida as well. It's an east wind today, so around Daytona to Orlando, that moisture coming in off the Atlantic and the thunderstorms starting to develop. It's not a lot of rain, especially for a summer afternoon in Florida, but with the east winds, if you're heading out to Miami Beach, if you got on sunshine and you want to hit the beaches, riptides are a possibility again today. Whenever they have an east or southeast wind, can be very dangerous to be out swimming, so just beware of that. All right, we back out a little bit. You can see the thunderstorms through the Carolinas and through Georgia. West of there, it's basically pretty dry, although we see a few sprinkles out here into Oklahoma. And even where there's not much rain, there's a lot of clouds, so low clouds for really anywhere from the Mississippi River on to the east. It looks like a partly to mostly cloudy day. A couple of rain.
Now, your local forecast, accurate and dependable from the Weather Channel.
Hey, very pleasant Wednesday morning to you, and thank you so much for joining us on the Weather Channel. I'm Vivian Brown, along with me, Lisa Mozer.
Bruce Edwards has the morning off, and I'll be filling in for him this morning.
Okay, we are about to check on current weather from coast to coast, and a lot of cold air in place this morning.
So I thought I'd start things off on a warmer note.
Okay.
How about that? We'll take a look. That was set yesterday, 93 degrees. Boy, a lot of us want to just jump in our cars and run down to Florida because we've got a lot of cold weather to tell you about. But Fort Myers, Florida, yesterday, they set a record. Now let's get down to the real business that we have to deal with this morning. Overnight, we had some frost and freeze advisories posted. St. Louis, Missouri, Peoria, Illinois. It was a cold night in Kentucky in the hills, too. And we are looking at temperatures this morning below that freezing point. So hopefully you made a little preparation overnight and protected any garden problems that could have occurred. You protected against them. Looking at the precipitation, estimated amounts, mainly yesterday, what we added up to, especially the southwest corner of Kansas, was about equivalent to 1.25 inches of precipitation, water equivalent, because we know we had a lot of travel problems in this area yesterday because of this system feeding into the Gulf. We have a low pressure to the southwest, and what we're seeing is a mix of rain and snow that fell yesterday, and it was certainly a little hectic traveling in and around the Texas and Oklahoma Panhandle and southern Kansas. Right now we're looking at snow falling over Utah, the highlands of Colorado. We've got snow levels kind of high right now, 5,000 feet. We're also looking at some rain along the Gulf Coast and some lake effect snow coming in off of Lake Ontario, Lake Erie, and temperatures in New Jersey that was cloud began to fall below freezing, so you too could see some light snow accumulating this morning. We're going to see things warm up because the sun is going to be coming out in the northeast, but right now we have a very strong wind coming out of the north over New York, over Albany, out over New Bedford, Massachusetts, and so we have cloudy skies and temperatures feel a little chilly this morning with the wind chill playing a factor. It's high pressure, a dominant weather maker towards the northern plains this morning. We're going to see a lot of sunshine and things are going to be looking pretty outside, but this high pressure originated in Canada, and so it's very cold Arctic air. It's a pretty big high pressure system also. Speaking of big, we have a wide area that will be associated with this system that will come together, not a blue norther just yet, but it will be coming together. It'll be tapping into the cold air to the north as well as the warm, moist air over the Gulf, and that means a wide area of precipitation again today for parts of Texas. The cloud begins. It's going to get a little messy. We'll take a quick look towards the northern plains, and we don't have any sits to report or snow to report as of today, but it does look like a little more may come your way before the week is out, before that melting starts up again. Looking at the current temperatures, Burlington 17 degrees, down towards the south. Atlanta, we're going to see the temperatures a little bit cooler Coming up, we'll be telling you more about that. Let's take a look at the Midwest temperatures this morning. They start out in the single digits again. We'll probably see a few more record lows this morning. Minot at 3 and Des Moines looking at 20 degrees right now. And to the southwest where things are with some low clouds, a little fog this morning. LA 54, San Diego 60. Seattle a little warmer this morning at 45 degrees. That's a look at how we are shaping up. Time now to take a look at the forecast with none other than Vivian Brown. Good morning, Vivian.
Good morning, Lisa. Let's check it out. The forecast, we will begin with the midday hour, and there you have it. Quiet over the eastern half of the country, but as Lisa mentioned, our system out west will be widespreading here. It's large, and I'll tell you what, quite a bit of snows will be found, particularly over the Wasatch Frontier of Utah. As much as a foot of snow possible. We'll also find some snow building in the mile-high city of Denver. So all eyes will be focused on the Intermountain West. Remember yesterday when we were talking about the chance for some pretty hefty rains to develop over Texas? Well, that wasn't the case because actually most of the moisture and that little disturbance basically pushed farther south and east and developed in the Gulf of Mexico, and we'll be finding scattered showers and a lot of unsettled weather over the Gulf today. So we want you to be careful. If you are a fisherman and you like to head out in the boats, we want you to be careful because we'll find some scattered thunderstorms throughout the day. Also across extreme southern Florida, Miami, there's a chance of a few thunder showers. Northwest winds building over a good part of the Northeast. We've even had reports of a little bit of thunder snow this morning in Philadelphia with a weak little system as it moved across the Northeast. We had a surprising little light dusting of snow overnight yesterday in New York City, too. Today it will be windy over many areas in New England, from Boston to New York, Philadelphia, and to D.C. The heaviest snow we think we'll find today will be across northern Vermont, New Hampshire, and Maine. And this is where we will find afternoon highs generally in the 20s, but we'll find 40s around New York City and Philadelphia and down toward our nation's capital. So a little cooler today over a good part of the Northeast. Sunshine for Augusta, and the Masters, of course, being held in Augusta, Georgia today. Atlanta, you're looking pretty good too. It will be a little cooler. An afternoon high of about 66 we're expecting. Got up to 67 yesterday, so kind of a carbon copy of yesterday in Atlanta. There you see the green on the map in southern Florida around Miami and Fort Lauderdale. As much as perhaps a half of an inch to an inch can fall. Some of the rain gauges across extreme southern Florida, so check your rain gauge if you live across the southern parts. We'll find afternoon highs in the 80s. That's again right out ahead of that surface front, but a little cooler behind it with highs in the 50s and 60s, and this is far below the average now for this time of year. Normally we should see 70s for places like Atlanta and Nashville over to Jackson, Mississippi for the afternoon highs, but again much cooler than what it should be this time of year. Not bad, Minneapolis, Chicago, Milwaukee today. It will be cold though, so the sun will be out, but don't let the sunshine fool you. Should only get up to 36 in Chi-Town.
Well, we got a humdinger rolling in the south right now. Severe.
A siege of ice and floods.
A hint for you. Watch out. It's going to be a rough evening for you. Up to the north, Chicago, Madison, dealing with the snow, and there's more to come. With all the details and soon to come, a flood update for you. Let's go ahead out to the Forecast Center and talk to Jill Brown.
Okay, thanks, Jim. We will take a look at Houston. It does appear that that's where the most severe thunderstorms are at this time. But first, let's take a look at what happened yesterday. This was near Lubbock, Texas, late afternoon when all of a sudden thunderstorms erupted from Amarillo to Lubbock, and we had a number of tornadoes touch down, 14 total, and a lot of damage. We also, of course, had reports of hail with this. Look at these hailstones falling and plopping into the puddles here. Up to golf ball size hail was reported in this area, and you can see some right there. That's some pretty big hail, do a lot of damage. And we had reports of heavy rain, but it looks like this April snowstorm will be just about out of here. So a few more hours of heavy snow in the Midwest, and then hopefully on to better things as April may return next week with some warmer temperatures. We'll talk about that coming up. Right now I want to take you back to the studio. Jim Cantoria is standing by with a look at the latest flood information.
Thanks a lot, Jill. Unfortunately, before we get to those warm temperatures, we may deal with some record cold, and we'll talk about that in just a second. But we do have the latest for you on the Midwestern flooding. The Red River will crest today at Fargo, North Dakota, 21 feet above flood stage. The Minnesota River crested yesterday at 10.7 feet in Mankato, and it's leveled off to under 10 feet at this time. Mississippi crested on April 7th, and in East Grand Forks, the Red River is now more than now more than 13.5 feet above flood stage. No information on when it will crest is available. The Mississippi is expected to crest on Sunday in St. Paul at 9.5 feet above flood stage, and today it's already reported as to being over 7 feet above flood stage, so it's on its way up. Unfortunately, too, we got some warmer weather coming into this weekend. I mean, not excessively warm, but temperatures in the 40s, so we will still see snow melt. As we mentioned, the Red River is expected to crest today at Fargo, North Dakota. It will also crest at Moorhead, Minnesota, and there, concerned residents continue to build up protection around their homes and businesses. And stay with us here at the Weather Channel, because as we continue to get flooding information in regarding flood stage as well as river crests and what we may be above flood stage, we'll pass that along to you. We're updating this every half hour. Let's go to the satellite image and we'll talk a little bit about what's going on out there. This storm concerns me a little bit more than the last one, not so much because of its immense coverage, but because of the cold air that is involved with it. We're talking about very cold temperatures tonight across the Intermountain region. And look at how far south the southern branch jet is. Way down here. Way down here. So the cold air is going to be allowed to dump in behind the storm. And I think we're going to see some temperatures in the south that are going to be a little bit colder than what we dealt with the last storm. And we had some frost even around Atlanta, Georgia with the last storm. I think there's a better chance here with this next one, so we need to keep an eye on that. What a gorgeous day, though, around the Queen City, up through Charleston, the nation's capital. You can't complain about this, folks, but the wet weather is coming on in, and as Jill showed you, excessive rainfall rolling along the Gulf Coast with that disturbance, not to mention the threat of wind damage with thunderstorms. Enough cold air aloft with a couple of disturbances today that we've seen some cumulus develop and even some showers and storms in the southwest. We take a look at your forecast. Here goes our low, expanding onto the northeast. Our energy soaks Atlanta tonight and tomorrow morning, moves up through the Piedmont here and right into the central Appalachians. Florida looks like a wet Saturday coming up for you as well. We'll keep an eye out for some severe storms out ahead of this cold front. And then with our northwest flow and our energy continuing to push the cold air deep into the south, we may have a few snow showers over the mountains of the west. But you'll notice where the heaviest rain will be, along the Gulf Coast and out ahead of that front as it gets pulled on up. Then we see the snow expand into Michigan. There'll be more after this for northern Michigan. And you'll notice here temperatures will be cold tonight, especially out west. And look at this, highs on Saturday only in the 30s in the panhandle of Texas. So some very cold air making its way into the southeast. Stay tuned for updates on frost and freeze advisories. We've already got some for tomorrow.
The new Audi A4 1.8T with an asphalt-burning turbocharger, a radical multi-link front suspension, a revolutionary 20-valve engine, and a sleek, sporty interior that'll really impress your roommates. Of course, with a price this low, who needs roommates?
Incredibly, Matchlight, the dependable one-match charcoal from KINGFORD, is ready to cook on in just 15 minutes. So, the sooner you get Matchlight, the sooner you eat.
Traffic barely moving and expect serious problems on the roadways.
A DC-9 plane skidded on traveling will be a big problem.
Travel-wise, mornings at 10 and 40 past the hour takes the surprise out of your travel on the Weather Channel. This is your local forecast.
Here, nights are still long enough to radiate. Temperatures down into the 20s and 30s, so we may deal with some frost and freeze a little bit farther south than you may have expected. And I will tell you firsthand, I have seen many folks playing in the dirt again. And unfortunately, they put their annuals in, so you may want to think about covering them coming up this weekend, because it's going to be a chilly one. No doubt about it. Are you guilty of that, Mr. Morrow?
Maybe.
Jeff's maybe guilty of that. All right, so we got to teach him a lesson this weekend. Anyway, what's going on? Saturday afternoon, here goes the low, rolling on off to the northeast. Of course, it's going to be a messy weekend in New England. It's the weekend, and you know April comes around, you just forget about every weekend. But with the frontal passage, the cold air drains into the deep south. Oh, I hate the sound of that. And on Monday, maybe some high cloudiness rolling on to the north, at least overnight Sunday, to protect some of these areas. But with low pressure coming into the west, we may start to see the atmosphere react and bring a few showers on northward.
Thanks for joining us this afternoon, Joel Brown and Rich Johnson. Rich will be along shortly with a look at international weather, so stick around for that. But we have a lot of weather here in the States to talk about. First of all, one record low this morning, 51 degrees, but no record highs yesterday, and it looks like we're finally starting to see temperatures modifying again. So the real cold spots aren't as cold, and the real hot spots are kind of hard to find. A little warm in Florida, but this is not unusual for this time of year to see highs in the upper 80s, kind of humid, a few thunderstorms, which we'll take a look at shortly on radar. Up into the northeast, remember just a couple days ago it was 95 in Washington, D.C. Right now, 64. And at LaGuardia at 61, Boston, a little on the chilly side, 58. A lot of cool temperatures out there. Now, granted, it's kind of early in the day, but we're expecting it to stay relatively cool. And over the next few days, I think we're finally going to get in on some nice fall temperatures. A lot of 70s and 80s. We'll check all of that out coming up shortly. We have two fronts on the map, just like yesterday, threatening to change our weather just a little bit, but it's slow to come. This one's basically stationary in the southeast. We had quite a bit of rain yesterday, actually all up and down the eastern seaboard. More of the same today, maybe some heavy downpours, but not much severe weather. Then this one coming along is starting to pick up a little bit more moisture, so we have a wider area of light rain showers. And it looks like the two will be on the map for at least another 24 hours. Rain expected with both of them. Most of this pretty light out here. On the east, we may see a few thunderstorms, we may see some heavy downpours, but we're really not expecting severe weather today, so that's definitely some good news. A relatively quiet fall afternoon, pretty typical stuff. But actually, of course, remember that it's still summer. We have one more week of summer. Fall comes in September 22nd, so next Wednesday. And it's no surprise that we've had some warm temperatures. But now it looks like we're finally getting to more of a fall regime. The rainfall, well, we'll take it section by section. You can see a big batch here coming out of Hartford. You should be drying out, at least for the time being, but all of that is heading on in towards Boston and Providence, already seeing the downpours. New York City, just overcast skies, rain coming into Philadelphia and leaving Baltimore and D.C., heading to the northeast. But it does look like a gray day, chance of on and off showers, and unfortunately, Saturday looks about the same. Sunday would be a better day, so if you're going to make outdoor plans, that's probably a good bet. The rain's kind of just hugging the coast here. We had some big thunderstorms yesterday around Virginia Beach. We're not expecting too many thunderstorms today, but possibly a few here and there, and as I mentioned, maybe some strong storms, but probably not severe weather. Then down into Georgia, you can see showers starting to develop, and along the east coast beaches in Florida, an onshore breeze, and a chance of riptides again today, Broward and Dade counties. Whenever they get that east or southeast wind, that's the possibility. So if you're going to be out at the beaches, definitely beware of that. And we'll look for more thunderstorms to develop throughout here this afternoon. Let's take you out into the plains. Well, a lot more rain today than what we had yesterday. And remember, a lot of these areas have already had a hard freeze and the growing season is over. It's been a rough year for the folks here, and actually after all of that flooding, believe it or not, some spots here are actually kind of dry and are in need of some rain. And looks like they're going to get it today, but what you're probably not going to be thrilled to hear is that this rain may stick around Saturday and Sunday, maybe Monday, before all of this mess kind of lifts off to the north and east. Alrighty, satellite picture will show us actually a little bit of texture to the clouds. Can you see that right here in central Nebraska? That indicates where thunderstorm clouds are building, and we have had some reports of small hail, so that's a possibility. Remember, maybe a couple of strong storms, but probably not severe weather. Looks sunny and nice down around Albuquerque over towards Phoenix, but LA is still sucked in with the clouds. That marine layer really hugging the coast again today, about 5,000 feet, and we got a little bit of drizzle out of it yesterday. Haven't had any reports of that today, but it should be a while before it really burns off. And then a nice day, Los Angeles and San Francisco may get up into the lower 70s, and Seattle finally getting in some nice weather after a long, cool and rainy summer. It's pretty quiet all along the western seaboard. So the rains continue with our 2 fronts through this afternoon, and as we move into Saturday as well. Notice a little bit of white on the map, so again, the higher elevations may see some snow. Definitely a sign of things to come, and we even have another front entering the picture, trying to draw some more cold air in. Actually, it gets kind of complicated as we have several different fronts on the map, but what you really need to know is chance of rain on the eastern seaboard, chance of rain through the center of the country, and the west coast again this weekend may be the place to be with mild temperatures and dry weather. So a ½ inch most locations, but yesterday a few locations southeast had more than an inch, and so that's still a possibility. Temperatures for this afternoon, well, the cool spot will be out here through the central Rockies, as highs will only be in the 50s. Northeast, highs again in the 60s. Let's check out the weekend. And the weekend outlook is sponsored by Quality Comfort, Clarion, and Sleep Hotels. Check out Saturday. Alrighty, as you make your outdoor plans, temperatures will be in the 70s in the northeast as we try to get a little bit of sunshine back in there. Still that cool air here in the plains, but behind this next front, it's not going to be quite as cold as the last, which really brought the cold temperatures all the way down into Texas, where we had record lows for several days. Now Texas in the 80s and the 90s, so we're hanging on to pretty typical mid-September weather through here, and that cold air is going to come out here into the plains. And as I mentioned, with rain for a couple of days, not too surprising that afternoon highs may only be in the 50s. Looks good East Coast and West Coast, however. And look how quickly temperatures rebound when that rain finally shoots up through the Great Lakes on Monday. So get a little bit of sunshine in there, and the south winds kick in, and we're back in the 70s, if not the 80s. Then here comes that next blast of cold air, so sort of just a repeating pattern. Rain in the east, really just isolated stuff, and then Sunday should be better. That next system that comes out here sort of just sits and spins, and we're more likely now to see showers or a steady light rain than thunderstorms as we move into the change of seasons, as we move into fall next week. Down to the south, though, where it stays warm, isolated thunderstorms, a pretty good bet. By Monday, here it comes, heading off to the north and east through the Great Lakes, and Tuesday should quiet down in the plains.
Time to take a look at our European forecast. First of all, the satellite photograph showing cloudiness from southern France actually beginning to buckle a little bit to the north as low pressure today over to the Bay of Biscay rolls a little bit over to the east and pushes clouds northward right over to London, England this hour, looking at cloudy skies with this next weather system beginning to bow in over toward Ireland. Temperatures shaping up like this. 63 at Zurich. There's a little bit of cloudiness around Brussels with a passing shower or two, but notice well to the south that warm front that you saw with the cloudiness pushing to the north. South of that into the 70s, even down towards southern Spain into the low 80s. French Riviera also into the mid-70s. Forecast for your midday Saturday showing low pressure today over toward Portugal and Spain. Tomorrow should be cruising down to the northwest Mediterranean, so the French Riviera should be seeing a scattering of showers. Good deal of cloudiness right on out to the Swiss Alps. Chances are there's not going to be any snow. There's possibility of snow always up at the highest peaks, way up above 10,000 feet, but for the most part, no snow. High pressure building in over to the North Sea. Fairly nice day across the Netherlands, also over toward England before the next front arrives. Temperatures will be cool to the north into the 50s, actually seasonal, staying mild. The boot of Italy, over to Greece also. Some of the forecasts look like this: partly cloudy at London, Madrid variably cloudy, and Paris partly cloudy. Some interesting developments in the tropic.
So the forecast is also available from the following.
Now, your local forecast, accurate and dependable from the Weather Channel.
Forecast.
Like family, there's nothing like you and me. Family, we're all family. I can't wait to see my family. Lovely channel, like family.
If if you're doing some traveling this Friday afternoon, maybe heading out of town for the last weekend of summer, there will be a few problems. As a matter of fact, this may be a problem area through the weekend as the rains have just begun today and they're likely to continue. We may also get some fairly heavy downpours and maybe some small hail, but we're not really expecting severe weather, so that's some good news. There's also a big batch of rain, just like yesterday, from Boston down to Atlanta to Miami. Now, not all-day rain, but some scattered showers and basically kind of a gray day. Let's take a look at the radar. We'll put it onto motion and show you where the rains are at the moment. You can see a batch just coming into Boston right now, some areas of rain right around Washington, D.C., and thunderstorms just starting to fire up now the east coast beaches of Florida. And again, that big area of wet weather here will stick around. We may have some better news for you later in the weekend for the East Coast. In the meantime, I think some of the best news of the day perhaps is that we're not expecting severe weather. Watch for a few thunderstorms, lightning always a threat, southeast and in the plains, and it may get a little blustery out there through the southern plains, and southwest winds maybe. Some very hot temperatures as it seems like the seasons are really battling it out, but things have really moderated quite a bit in the past 24 hours. No record highs yesterday and just one record low this morning. Bakersfield, California, just 51 degrees. Temperatures across the nation, as you'll see, well, no hot spots really. We see a few 80s now showing up in Texas, and Florida naturally relatively warm, 89 in Tampa at this hour, 88 in Miami. Should see a few showers or thunderstorms during the afternoon. Remember, it was 2 days ago when Washington, D.C. was in the mid-90s. Today, mid-60s, at least so far. 63 in New York City. We won't see a whole lot of sun today, and with a stiff wind off the water, it's 59 in Boston, but it may feel like it's in the 40s, so feeling like fall already. A lot of 60s in the center of the country. West Coast pretty seasonable. So far 81 degrees in Phoenix, and it looks like a decent day there. We won't find too many clouds in the area. We have two fronts actually on the map, and it's with those two fronts where we'll see most of our clouds and, of course, most of our rain. Eastern seaboard, same as yesterday. Scattered showers, a few thunderstorms, and some heavy downpours, but we really don't expect much severe weather, so that's definitely some good news. Although it's raining, as I mentioned, a little windy and kind of chilly in Boston. Same is true really in many of the big cities on the eastern seaboard, although down to the south, even where it's raining, it's still warm out there and kind of muggy, not giving up that humidity of summer as of yet. We still have a week of summer left, so no real surprises there. Still some low clouds behind our front, and then the next front coming along with a thicker clouds and the rain and even a few thunderstorms that may start to really pop by this afternoon. We do expect wet roadways to be found anywhere from the northeast to the southeast, and then back behind this system really sort of the overrunning rains, just a steady light rain. Not a whole lot of thunderstorms, but we may see a few. Could be fairly strong, but much like yesterday, we do not see a big threat of severe weather, so that's some good news. Although in the afternoon, even with a few strong storms, there can be some problems. Lightning is always a threat. Heavy downpours can always cause delays at the airport. So much like yesterday, if you're flying in maybe to D.C. or Atlanta or Miami, good idea would be to call ahead today. We take you to the northeast. Now, we had some rain on and off New York City yesterday. So far, you're in the dry zone. One batch of rain has moved through Hartford, moving on up through Providence and into Boston. Once that moves out, you may just find some low clouds, a little drizzle, and even some fog the rest of this afternoon. And then around Baltimore and Washington, D.C., a batch of rain that's heading northeastward and is now taking over Philadelphia, so some wet weather that may last for a few hours. We could see some fairly heavy rain in here, but so far, this far north, we have not had reports of thunderstorms. Let's take you a little farther to the south. Looks a little better today, drier in Virginia, although still the clouds and it's kind of cool, and you get down into North Carolina and South Carolina, and that's where you're more likely to see some thunderstorms. Same is true in Georgia. Look how quiet it was earlier, and all of a sudden those thunderstorms just fire up all over the place. Pretty typical in summer, and remember, it's still summer. We have a little bit of sunshine, really destabilizes the atmosphere, and those storms can pop pretty quickly through here. So it looks like down around Albany over to around Cocoa Beach, down to Miami and West Palm, some thunderstorms. That's sort of scattered about the area. So it could be sunshine and block down the road, a heavy downpour. So if you're going to be driving through here, that's what you can encounter, and there will be some heavy rain. Over toward Alabama and all the way back to Texas looks fine, though, for today. As a matter of fact, we don't have as many clouds as we had yesterday, and Texas should be sunny. Kind of nice, as a matter of fact, warming up over the next few days, which we'll get to. Out here in the plains, behind that next frontal system, we have basically light rain, a couple of thunderstorms. We've even had some reports of small hail earlier in the day, and on the satellite picture you can see how it looks like kind of puffy clouds. Those are those cumulus thunderstorm clouds that show up pretty nicely on the satellite picture. So there will be some thunderstorms out here. Looks like basically a sunny day through most of Colorado and Utah. We had big thunderstorms yesterday. Could see a few more in northern Utah. And the marine layer actually still hanging in there, so some low clouds near the coast. No drizzle, though, reported today. Looks like gradually through this afternoon we should see those clouds diminishing. Check the forecast now. We'll start that off with the Friday afternoon map, and that will show us where our fronts are headed. The one in the east, again, firing up the thunderstorms. More rain here and a few thunderstorms as well. And the next front kind of waiting in the wings as that slides down out of Canada. That'll help to bring in another round of cool air, although we do not expect to see the really cold stuff that we had a few days ago. Perhaps cold enough for a little bit of snow in the mountains. Doesn't look to be a big problem. Half-inch of rain here, perhaps a half-inch or even an inch in the east if we get some real heavy downpours and some thunderstorms. Here's where the coolest readings will be behind that secondary frontal system, and cool turns to cold overnight tonight, 30s and even some 20s possible for much of the Midwest. The growing season is already over. They've already had a hard freeze, so it's a little early this year. We seem to be getting into cool air pretty quickly. So as we head through the weekend, we see
continues fair, very fair. Now in the central portion there is a low pressure area. Now from a low pressure area to a high pressure salesmanship, after which we shall continue our weather show. Central section. Good night until next week.